Hi, I'm Alicia Fleet, realtor with eXp Realty here in Halifax. I am a 3-time Icon agent, soon to be 4, and I've been licensed since 2014. I am passionate about real estate, but I'm equally passionate about helping other agents build something that they can actually be proud of. And today, I'm sitting down with one of my fellow agents, Noah Smith, because his story is one that you need to hear. Whether you're just starting out or you've been in the game for a few years and you're wondering, is there something more out there for me? Then you need to listen up. So, Noah, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about who you are, how long you've been in real estate, and what you were doing before that.
Well, my name is Noah Smith. I started in real estate in 2021 before eventually going full-time in 2023. And prior to this, I was a power line technician.
So what made you decide to jump into real estate?
Well, first off, I really enjoyed my trades, but as I thought about my future more and more, there were two main factors that it didn't offer me. Those being continued growth and flexibility. Real estate really offered that in spades. So I had completed my red seal, and while that was a major achievement for myself, it also marked a bit of a plateau. I was content, but I wanted a little bit more, a job I could keep growing into, one that didn't really have a ceiling. And that's what real estate offered a ton of. The other reason was flexibility. Being able to be my own boss, make my own schedule. I don't think I could ever go back to that 9 to 5, and especially because my 9 a.m. was 5 a.m. and now I can sleep in.
Okay, so tell me, once you decided to do it, what made you choose eXp over any other brokerage out there?
Well, I did my research before jumping into real estate. Obviously, I was switching from a well-paying, secure job. People always need power after all.
This is true.
To a completely commission-based one. So I spoke to 8 different brokerages on the journey.
8?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And eXp stood out by miles to me. One of the biggest concerns for myself was training. I was coming into this business pretty much blind, so having that support behind me was crucial, and eXp offered a ton of it. From fantastic mentorship program to bi-weekly sales meetings, an overall sense of wanting to grow from all the agents around me. Plus, they offered some great bonuses like stock awards, revenue sharing, all while being cloud-based, so lower monthly desk fees. But that didn't stop them from being very technology-driven and offering some great tech partnerships.
And that's exactly what I want people to hear. Noah just didn't fall into eXp. He did his research. I mean, you said you talked to 8 brokerages.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And he chose this one because when you actually break down the model, it's hard to argue with. Stock awards, revenue share, monthly lower costs, and world-class training.
Yeah.
You get to keep more of what you earn. That's not a pitch. That's just basic math.
Absolutely.
I've been licensed since 2014, and I've seen what other agents and other brokerages deal with. The structure cap alone is a game changer. Like, you hit your cap, and every dollar after that goes straight to you. Not the brokerage, to you, right? So what is the culture actually like inside of eXp here in Nova Scotia? Because, agents hear a lot of things. What is the reality from somebody who's actually living it every single day?
People want to help each other grow. Simple as that, I'd say. I think people hear cloud-based and no physical offices, but eXp really does feel connected. We have things like our hub group where you can always reach out to a broker or a fellow agent for questions or help with an issue. We have full broker support and our 24-hour aftercare desk. So while there may not be a water cooler to hang around, you never feel isolated.
The water cooler. I absolutely love that you said the water cooler, because let's be honest, it's never really been about hydration, right? It's just the gossip station. And when you remove that environment, something kind of shifts. People actually focus on building instead of talking about each other, right? What I want to underline here is what Noah said. People here actually want each other to win. We're not competing against each other. And at eXp, we understand that when the brokerage grows, we all grow. My success and Noah's success are not in conflict. That's not something you find everywhere in this industry. So I want to get into what the mentorship actually looked like, because I think a lot of agents out there hear the word mentor and they think something a little more formal. So you actually came out with me. You came out with me to showings, to inspections. You sat in and listened in on calls. How would you describe how we worked with you? And what was it like in those early days?
Well, the short answer is it gave me a sense of purpose, and more importantly, it made me feel practiced for when I eventually started handling these deals by myself. So, as Alicia mentioned, I basically shadowed her on all of her daily activities. I'd take just journals full of notes.
Yes.
And then after every call or showing or inspection, we'd get together and go over everything that happened. This really helped me pick up on not just the bigger things like scripting that would, help me in my everyday activities, but also smaller intricacies like noticing clients' needs and emotions. Then once we both felt like I was getting the hang of things, Alicia actually let me take over on some of these. So I would start making the calls and she would take notes, or she'd have me chat with clients about showings and home inspections, just giving me the opportunity to practice these skills that she was teaching me so that I couldn't just talk the talk, but I could also walk the walk as well.
And I want to speak to that because there's a method to how I structured everything. Noah didn't just come with me to watch, because watching without doing builds zero confidence, right? The debrief after every single call, every showing, every inspection was intentional. That's where the real learning happened, not during the moment, but right after it when it still felt fresh. What did you notice? What would you do differently? What did your client's body language actually tell you when you said that? That is where you actually grow. So, Noah, tell me, what is the most valuable thing that I taught you that you still use today?
That I still use day to day, I would definitely say scripting, as I mentioned, but on the flip side of that, also understanding your individual clients' wants and needs. In real estate, you're going to have the same conversation over and over and over again. So it is really helpful to have a base idea of what you need to talk about and specific things that you need to mention. But you can't come across like a robot either.
This is it.
Yeah. And think that there's a one-size-fits-all approach to every client. You need to pay attention to the actual words that your clients are saying. Read between the lines a little bit to really elevate your service to those clients.
I absolutely love that. It's such an important point, and I'm glad that you said that. Knowing the process is literally the bare minimum. What separates you from a good agent to a great agent is what happens on top of that, right? Every transaction has similarities. The process, the paperwork, the timelines, right? You need to know that, but not one single client situation is ever the same, ever. And when you have a good working relationship with your clients and they actually trust you, then they let you in. And when they let you in, you can actually help them. That is what makes the difference. So Noah, let's talk about results, because that's what agents watching actually care about. You hit your cap in your second year. Some agents never cap, like ever. And you landed in the top 10 multiple times. That didn't happen by accident, right? So walk us through what it actually took. What were the habits, the routines, and the mindset shifts that made the difference for you?
Well, it wasn't an easy process. I needed a kick in the butt a lot of days, or just some general guidance on where to spend my time. That's where not only you, but eXp's training really helped out too. When I wasn't shadowing you, there was always some kind of training or class or course that I could take, whether that was on systems that we use, everyday practices, or even those mindset focused seminars. I really had to learn again that I'm my own boss, and if I'm not out there being productive, then I ain't getting paid.
This is exactly it.
Exactly, right? So, you know, things like lead generation and following up consistently with those leads, time blocking, or doing pre-showings of homes so that I look more experienced when I do show them. All valuable assets that eXp and you really hammered home for me early on so that I could excel so quickly.
Exactly, right? When we work together, like we all have the same common goal. It doesn't matter where you hang your hat or what brokerage you work at. We are all colleagues together. We all have the same common goal to be there, to support our clients, to act in their best interest, to help buyers and sellers buy and sell, right? That's the goal. So Noah, when you actually hit your cap, like when it was real, what did you feel in that moment?
Well, I didn't even know it happened at first, to be honest with you. I think I was on a call with you at the time, and I just so happened to check my cap status, and there it was in big bold letters, capped. It felt incredible seeing that, honestly. Not just because it was a big milestone for me getting into the career, but overall, it really helped reinforce those habits and routines that I worked so hard on.
I absolutely love that. And I want agents watching this to actually sit with that for a second. The industry average for new agents, the failure rate is brutal. Like in the first 2 years, somewhere around 80% of people wash out. Noah just didn't survive. He thrived. And it wasn't luck, it was lead gen, constant follow-up, and time blocking. Doing your homework before the showings. The basics done relentlessly. eXp gave you the framework, and my mentorship gave you the accountability. But at the end of the day, guys, Noah made the decision to show up every single morning. So, what about a brand new agent who's trying to figure out where to hang their license? What's some advice that you would give them?
First off, a good mentor is going to be invaluable to you and your business. Meet with different agents, get a feel for how they do their business, what they can offer you for knowledge and training, and make sure that you click with them on a personal level too. Once you're up and running, never stop training. Even the top producing agents are learning every day. It's so essential to your growth. And if there's one thing I've learned, there's always room to grow.
You know what, Noah? It's so true. The reality is, as humans, we jive with some people and sometimes we don't. And that's okay, right? But you need to find what works for you. Like even myself being in the industry for 12 years, I still need to grow. There's always room for improvement, growth, and positive change. The moment you become comfortable, you're no longer growing. As the saying goes, you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? Okay, Noah, final question. And you probably were not prepared for this one. I'm just going to throw it at you.
All right.
If you had to describe working with me and being at eXp in one sentence, what would it be?
I would say inspiring me to be the best agent and person that I could be.
I love that. That means so much to me, more than any award ever. Because at the end of the day, the deals close, the market shifts, the stats change. But when you help build something that's real, that stays. Noah came with 0 transactions and a red seal. What he has built then is entirely his. I just made sure that he had the tools that he needed to succeed. And I'm so happy to have you work with me and to collaborate with me and to watch you grow and succeed. If Noah's story resonates with you, if you're sitting there and you're thinking you want results like that, you want support like that, and you want a brokerage that actually works for you, then let's talk. I'm always open to having a conversation. No pressure, no pitch, just real conversation about where you are and where you want to go. If that's you, then click the link below and let's book a call. I'd love to connect. Thanks so much for listening in. I'm Alicia Fleet, and this is Noah Smith with eXp Realty.